looking.
I've been looking, searching, trying to find the right way to walk. Stay beside me, guide me, to try me. I wanna walk in your light.
I've been looking,
searching, trying to find the right way to walk.
The Lord is my light, my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. And whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemy, my faith and trust I put all in thee. Believe you got the world in your hand. You bless me, Lord, I know I can stand.
Show me the way, Lord.
I will be faithful, for I am desolate and afflicted, Lord.
Good afternoon to the sons and daughters of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, spiritual and physical, here in Riverdale. We're going to get right to this lesson, sisters and brothers, because what we want to do is teach you the Word of God. The Lord had His big Bible written, and He wants His Bible to be taught to people, sisters and brothers. People have gotten the feeling, have gotten the idea and the feeling that you go to church, hear a good sermon. You don't have to know what it's about. You don't have to understand it, but you just leave feeling good. But the Lord wants you to know what's going on, sisters and brothers. That's why He had all this stuff written. And He have set forth in His creation a motion that man have to go through to get to the end. And we like to kind of like pick some of this up, because truth of the matter is, if you go and listen at most churches, you can't leave there with anything that you could really put a nail in it and say, look, I really learned this today. But God have a plan for man. And God fixes His plan for man and makes sure that man don't deviate from it. And we're going to go back and pick this up. That's why it's titled From Babel to Babylon to the Millennium. From Babel to Babylon to the Millennium. Because the Lord, man is one family, and somewhere along the line we have forgotten that. God put us forth of His family, and God wants us to understand what He is doing. So we're going to start this in Genesis, the 10th chapter. Here in Genesis, the 10th chapter, we're going to tell you about the sons of Noah, sisters and brothers. If you didn't come out of Noah, you don't exist. It's all that simple. But if you have people, if you look at the way people behave and the way people are killing and destroying and hurting one another, and taking advantage of one another because of different nationalities, different colors, and different locations, cities and states that they might have lived for a country, you would never know that we was all one family, the family of man. You never know it. Because right now, there ain't no love left. Everybody's hating everybody. And it'd be hard, and you'd be hard pressed to get them to understand, hey, wait a minute, that's your brother, that's your sister. I don't care what the color is. I don't care where you came from. Then we're going to start as Genesis 10 and 1. If you didn't come out of these guys, you don't exist. Okay, go ahead.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah. Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Go ahead.
And unto them were sons born after the flood.
Now these are the generation of Noah. These are his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And these are the people that's born after the flood. Because if they didn't come out of these guys, they got drowned before the flood. That's right. Because when the Lord looked at this man, how wicked he had gotten, He said it grieved Him It repented him that he created this man. So he decided to kill them all. But he saw Noah and his family. So these are the ones we're dealing with. Go ahead.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai, and Javan and Tubal and Meshach and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz and Riphath and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha and Tarshish, Kittim and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations.
Now these are the Gentiles, the sons of Japheth, sisters and brothers. These are European, what we call white people, okay? Now that's why people say you have asked the average person, what is a Gentile? Well, that's, if you're a Gentile, that means you're not a Jew. Levi is not a Jew. Benjamin is not a Jew. Simeon is not a Jew. Reuben is not a Jew, but all of them are Israelites. A Jew is one that come out of the tribe of Judah. Have nothing to do with Gentile. So when somebody want to know who the Gentile is, white people. Got guys that look like me telling me, well, I'm a Gentile. Preacher saying, you can't be no Gentile. You might be a Hamite, but you can't be no Gentile. See, we need to understand that. Go ahead and read.
And the sons of Ham, Cush and Mizraim and Put and Canaan.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Who is Cush? Ethiopia. Mizraim, there's Egypt. Canaan is the one whose land we took, and Put is who was the one that Gaddafi lost? They killed him in Libya. Go ahead and read.
And the sons of Cush, Seba and Havilah and Saptah and Ramah and Sapteka. And the sons of Ramah, Sheba and Dedan. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
So now Nimrod is the one they said built, was head of the Babel, but no, we don't know that. We know that Nimrod had 3 cities that he built, but they was all in the land of Shinar, and one of them was Babel. But whether he was leading this thing when they were building the tower, the Bible don't say. All the Bible said about him that he was a mighty hunter in the land. Go ahead and finish that.
He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord.
Go ahead.
And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
Now that's why it said, well, look, see, and Nimrod was the one who was leading the building of the Tower of Babel. This said the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, but we don't know when that began, do we? Go ahead and read.
And Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar.
Now, these are the sons of Japheth and the sons of Cush, of Ham, brother. But we're not going to deal with all of them because we'll be here all day. But then Shem had some sons too. Skip down to verse 21. Verse 21. Go ahead.
Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber. The brother of Japheth, the elder.
Now, go ahead.
Even to him were children born.
So now, Shem had a whole lineage of children. We're not going to read all of them, but you can read them on their own. But these all come out of one father. Skip down to verse 32 and read it.
These are the families of the sons of Noah.
These are the families of the sons of Noah. Go ahead.
After their generations. In their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood.
Now, if you didn't come out of these guys, you don't exist. All of the nations that were divided into the earth after the flood come out of Ham, Shem, Japheth, sisters and brothers. And that time, and let's see what the Lord did, because he wanted this man to populate the earth. But let's see what happened. Let's go into Genesis, the 11th chapter, because this man had other ideas. This family wanted to stay together. Apparently, there was still some peace among them. Genesis 11 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
And the whole earth was of one language.
And the whole earth spoke one language. Well, that's not hard to understand because they had the same mother and father, didn't they? Go ahead.
And of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there.
Go ahead.
And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar.
Go ahead.
And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth.
So now what they wanted to do, they made them some brick, and they made the mortar, and they wanted to build a tower, and they was working on that tower. Why? Because they said, we want to have a beacon, lest we get scattered out in the earth and we lose sight on one another. This family wanted to stay together, sister and brother, because it was one family. But then God had other ideas. Go ahead.
And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do.
So now when everybody have the same language, and everybody's on the same wavelength, there ain't nothing that you can't accomplish. Because one of the biggest difficulties we had right now with the spreading of the word of God is the different languages. I speak English. That's all I speak. Somebody else have to speak another language and can understand English so they can pass it on. But at this time, there was no problem. And believe me, Noah, this is what people don't understand. Noah knew God. God knew Noah. That means Noah's sons knew God. And all of them had one God in the beginning. That's the God of Noah, sister and brother. There was no other God in the beginning, only the God of Noah. But now the Lord came about and changed the language, and what happened? Go ahead.
Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech.
Go ahead.
So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city.
Now, you know when you change the language, like I make the example all the time, like if somebody said, pass me a brick in English, and then the guy holding the brick look at you in Spanish and say, what you said? And now we can't communicate, and I'm going to turn around and say, I know you speak English. Did you hear what Antoine said? The brother over here speaks Spanish, Russian. What you say?
Right.
So the people that spoke the same languages, they got together and went in their direction. That's how the Lord scattered and propagated the whole earth. Finish that.
Therefore is the name of it called Babel. Because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth.
So that's why it used the word Babel. You know, when you tell somebody you babbling, that means as far as I'm concerned, you ain't saying nothing. You just making a noise.
That's right.
So that's what it was. Like everybody was making noises, so everybody wanted to get away from the crazy person.
Right.
They didn't understand that the person they called crazy was calling them crazy too. That's like Paul said, if the whole speaking in tongues, so if everybody in the church speaking in tongues, so a stranger come in, he look at us and say, hey, all these people are mad.
Right.
That's the way it was at the Tower of Babel. So the Lord scattered the whole earth, sisters and brothers. And until the time when Babylon came along, there was not another system where all the people was under the same umbrella, under the same leadership. That's why we have to go to pick that up. We have to go and deal with Babylon now, sister and brother. This is the first, and Babylon, under the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, was the first man to rule the entire earth, or to keep rule over the entire earth since the Tower of Babel. Let's go in the 27th chapter of Jeremiah. Because until Babylon came, everybody went their own way. Every nation did their own thing. Everybody had grew up and got their own set of laws and everything else, and all of them had their same God. Because Noah's children had scattered, and as they scattered, they picked up bad habits. What is that bad habit? Paganism. But then the Lord brought them together under the Gentile king, which is Nebuchadnezzar, sisters and brothers. This is the first man to rule the whole world. We're going to start at verse 1, Jeremiah 27 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word unto Jeremiah from the Lord, saying,
Go ahead.
Thus said the Lord to me, make thee bonds and yokes, and put them upon thy neck.
He said, I want you to make bonds and yokes, and I want to put them up on your neck. Go ahead and read.
And send them to the king of Edom, and to the king of Moab,
Go ahead.
and to the king of Ammonites, and to the king of Tyrus,
Go ahead.
and to the king of Zidon, by the hand of the messengers which come to Jerusalem unto Zedekiah, king of Judah.
I want you to send these yokes to all of these kings by the messengers that's going to come in Zedekiah. See, Zedekiah hadn't become king yet. But in this day, he wanted to do this because this is when the Lord is going to put one man in charge of the whole planet. Go ahead and read.
And command them to say unto their masters, thus saith the Lord of hosts,
Go ahead.
the God of Israel, thus shall ye say unto your masters,
Go ahead.
I have made the earth, the man and the beast that are upon the ground, by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it to unto whom it seemed meet unto me.
Now he said, I made the earth. I want you to tell your masters, I made the earth, and I made everything in it, and I have given it to, I'm going to give it to anybody that it seems good to me, because can't nobody stop me. But go ahead and read.
And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve him.
So now what I've done is I've given all of these lands to Nebuchadnezzar, my servant. The beasts of the field, everything is here. Because he's my servant. That means that Nebuchadnezzar was serving God. No, sisters and brothers. He got knocked down and he got up talking like a servant. But what it means servant? Because he was doing what God wanted him to do. Don't you know that Russia in the Bible is called God's servant too? In the time when the Lord want to bring him across and do what he's going to do, he's going to do exactly what the Lord want. And so now you can have a master, don't have to like your master, but when you do what they say, ain't you serving them? See, it's in this the mindset, sisters and brothers. I remember years ago when we was in the storefront, some of the brothers come and asked me, said, Brother Boy, you think that the Russians love the Lord? I said, no. Well, he says they operating, they served him. I said, look, they love the high position that he had put them in. But they don't love him. They don't know him. But they love the position. You the boss. You love the boss. So he said, now, they're going to serve Nebuchadnezzar, my servant. Because I'm going to give him all these countries. I'm going to even give him the feast of the field. How long is he going to serve him? Go ahead and read.
And all nations shall serve him.
And all nations shall serve him. How absolute is all, sister and brother? I mean, if you was a nation, you served him. Go ahead and read.
And his son.
And you're going to serve his son?
And his son's son.
And his son's son. I didn't know but one of Nebuchadnezzar's son. So this kind of complicating thing. You're going to serve him, his son, and his son's son. Go ahead and read.
Until the very time of his land come. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him.
Now, he's going to serve him and his son's son until the time when the Lord is going to deal with him. And when the Lord deal with him, it said, many nations and great kings shall serve themselves on him. Now we're going to go to the end of the Babylonian kingdom, and let's see who all these nations are that's going to take him down. Because they're going to serve themselves on him now. Since all the nations have served him, but the time comes, they're going to serve themselves on him. He said, many nations, not one. So we're going to go and look at this. Let's go into Daniel, the 2nd chapter. Because we're going to look at the end of Babylon. And that kind of complicate things, sisters and brothers. Let's start at Daniel 2. Because we're going to pick it up from Nebuchadnezzar and bring it on down. Daniel 2 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
And in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him.
Go ahead.
And the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king.
Now, Nebuchadnezzar, which was the ruler of the whole world, had a dream, and not only couldn't even remember the dream, didn't know what the interpretation was, he forgot the dream. So he called in all these smart people. Go ahead and read.
And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show their interpretation.
Now, he couldn't tell them the dream. Neither could, so how can you interpret a dream? You don't even know what the dream was. He had the dream and forgot. All he know is, boy, I had a dream. Whatever it was, it troubled me. And he brought in all these guys to interpret this dream. Skip down to verse 10. Verse 10, and go ahead.
The Chaldeans answered before the king and said,
Uh-huh.
There is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter.
Go ahead.
Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such things that any magician or astrologer or Chaldean.
So all these are supposed to be the big brain, the big wigs in Babylon. But he couldn't even remember the dream to even tell them what it was so they can interpret it. They said, look, king, ain't no ruler at no time ever asked such a task of their servant. How can we interpret a dream and you don't even remember what the dream was? Nebuchadnezzar didn't like that, but go ahead and read.
It is a rare thing that the king requireth,
Uh-huh.
and there is none other that can show it before the king,
Go ahead.
except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh.
So only the gods whose dwellers not with flesh can tell you, man, what you dream and you can't remember. Go ahead and read.
For this cause the king was angry and very furious,
Uh-huh.
and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon.
Go ahead.
And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain.
So that's always the case, sisters and brothers. They brought all of these wise men, Babylonians, whatever wisdom or whatever area they serve in, they couldn't understand, couldn't tell them what the dream was. Therefore, they couldn't interpret the dream. So Nebuchadnezzar got mad. I've been feeding you guys. Y'all supposed to have all this sense. I'm going to kill every one of you. But then, when they went to kill the wise men, then they saw Daniel's, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which was Israelites. Just like right now, we can't have this wisdom that God has put among men. You know why? If they ever decided they want some wise men to tell them what's going on in this world, you're going to have all of these Gentile preachers around. And they ain't going to have a clue of what's going on. Just like Nebuchadnezzar didn't have a clue. So now they say, well, then we're going to get rid of all churches. Then they'll remember where we are now. To come get rid of us. But then the Lord's going to do them like he did Daniel. Skip down to verse 24. Verse 24. And go ahead.
Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon.
Now look, Daniel's heard about it, so Daniel said, look, he went into the guy that the king sent to destroy the wise men of Babylon. Go ahead and read.
He went and said thus unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon, bring me in before the king.
Go ahead.
And I will show unto the king their interpretation.
Now, he had to approach him. Because this guy told Daniel earlier, look, I come to kill all of y'all. Daniel said, why is the decision so hasty? It wasn't hasty. He just didn't know about it. And when he told him, he said, give me a day or so. And he gave him a day. He consulted with his other three Hebrew brothers. And the Lord opened this thing up. He said, now take me in before the king. Don't destroy the wise men. I will tell you what this dream was about. I know the interpretation. Not only the dream, but the interpretation. Skip down to verse 31. Verse 31, and we're going to look at the interpretation. We're going to look at the dream and the interpretation. Verse 31, go ahead.
Thou, O king,
so when he went in before King Nebuchadnezzar, he's talking to him now. Thou, O king, sawest, go ahead.
And behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible.
Go ahead.
This image's head was of fine gold.
Go ahead.
His breast and his arms of silver. His belly and his thighs of brass.
Now this is an image of a man, sisters and brothers. And it's telling you how it is composed. Go ahead and read.
His legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay.
Go ahead.
Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hand, which smote the image upon his feet. There were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces.
He said, now you saw this great big image. Now this image was an image of a man. And said a stone came and smote this image on the feet. I want you, brothers, I want you to put up an image of this, because I want to point out something here, sister and brother. These things that you need to understand, because this is one family. This is Nebuchadnezzar. This is a Babylonian empire. From the head to the feet, that's a statue of one man, ain't it? It's not broken in pieces. That means that whatever we see, it belongs to the head. The top one is Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. And then he saw a stone cut out without hand and smote the image on the feet. Can you give me that ugly stone? There it is. Bam, on the feet. If you want to knock somebody out, why you going to hit him on the feet? Mm-hmm. You hit him in the head, right? Mm-hmm. But in this case, sisters and brothers, the feet is the only thing that's left. Now, what verse are we? What do we leave off at?
Verse 35.
Verse 35? Okay, go ahead.
Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together and became like the shaft of the summer threshing floor.
So that stone destroyed the feet of this statue. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and read. And doing so destroyed the statue. Go ahead and read.
And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them.
Go ahead.
And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth.
Now this stone, that represents Jesus, sister and brother. It became a great mountain, and it didn't bounce back and go to heaven. It filled the whole earth. Because once he come this last time, he ain't going nowhere. He going to run this thing. Go ahead and read.
This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king.
No, he said, now you had the dream, now we're going to tell you what it means. Go ahead and read.
Thou, O king, art a king of kings. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power and strength and glory.
He said, look, you're a king of kings. The God of heaven has given it to you. You got strength, power, and glory. Go ahead and read.
And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold.
Ain't that something? He said, so whatsoever the children of men dwell, God have made you the head. You are the ruler of all these people. Nebuchadnezzar, first man ever ruled the entire earth. What verse?
We have verse 39.
Go ahead and read.
And after these shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee.
That's the Medo-Persian kingdom. Go ahead and read.
And another third kingdom of brass.
That is the Greek kingdom. Go ahead and read.
Which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise.
Now this is the Roman Empire. Did more to the damage to the world than any empire before it. But all of these rule the whole world. They just pass the world down from hand to hand. Go ahead and read.
And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay.
Now these kingdoms, as far as the toes are concerned, sister and brother, the Lord lets you know that they're going to be weak and strong nation. Go ahead and read.
And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay,
go ahead.
So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
So there's going to be 10 kingdoms, sister and brother, and they're going to be ruling over a certain part of the area. It's not just 10 kingdoms, and that's all. It's 10 kingdoms that's running the whole thing in this area. And they're partly strong and partly weak. But this is the thing that really got my attention. Skip down to verse 44 and read it.
And in the days of these kings.
And in the days of these kings.
Shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom.
Shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. Look, sisters and brothers, in the days of these kings. So whatever generation that's seeing these kings, that is the generation that the God of heaven is going to come. Go ahead and read.
Which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people.
Go ahead.
But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
So when the God of heaven set up a kingdom, his kingdom is going to destroy all these other kingdoms. That don't mean he's going to kill all the people. What he's going to do is he's going to kill a lot of people. But what he's going to do is he's going to take this whole over, and there won't be no king of England, no king of France, no king of America, no king of Russia. It's just going to be the kingdom of God. Because that's when the God of heaven take over. Read the next verse. Go ahead and read.
For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hand, and that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold.
Go ahead.
The great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
He said, now, what he's showing you, brothers, just put it back up one more time, because I want you to take one more look at this statue. He said, what he's showing you, the God of heaven, is showing you what's going to happen in the hereafter. And I mean, he showed it down to the last denomination. So now, all of these, this great big statue here, the head of that statue is Nebuchadnezzar. The first nation to rule the whole earth is Babylon. But the only thing about this, sisters and brothers, Babylon is supposed to be taken down by the mark of nations. But we're going to see. Let's go and see how Babylon was destroyed. But in the days of these kings, because he took it all the way down to the end, the days of these kings should have had God of heaven set up a kingdom. Show me Jesus, the stone, hitting it on the foot one more time. Bam! And it's going to be over with. Now let's go to Daniel, the 5th chapter. Because we're going to see how this Babylonian kingdom fell. Daniel chapter 5. Now he said you're going to serve, remember he's going to say you're going to serve Babylon's and his Nebuchadnezzar's sons and his son's son. But this is the only son that the Bible talks about in Nebuchadnezzar. Some people, well, in history said, I'm telling what the Bible, I don't know what all history said. I'm dealing with the Bible here. So this is this guy, Belshazzar, 5 and 1. Let's see how many came after him. Daniel's 5th chapter and verse 1. Go ahead.
Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein.
That lets you know that this guy didn't have a clue who he was dealing with. His daddy knew before he died. But he saw it all. He saw everything that happened to his daddy for being stupid. But then sometimes children look at old folks and don't learn nothing. And that's what happened in this case. So we're going to send and he's going to get the holy vessels, utensils out of the house of God that Nebuchadnezzar, his father, had brought down. Go ahead and read.
Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem. And the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them.
Go ahead.
They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone.
Go ahead.
And the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace.
Now, while they was drinking and getting drunk out of the holy utensils, they were praising every material god that there was, but they was not praising the God of Israel, the one whose breath that they was breathing. And that's what's going on now. People don't serve God no more. They serve materialistic stuff. And it's got so bad nowadays until they even call it, what kind of ministry now? Prosperity ministry. So now, they were serving every kind of God there was. And all of a sudden, the Lord sent a message. What it did, the hand materialized. Go ahead and read what verse?
We're at the end of 5.
Go ahead.
And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote.
Now, that hand just poof. That's what it ain't that something. God fixed it so everybody can see it. Dropped up, poof. And all of a sudden, that hand, them 4 fingers, went on across and everybody looking and wrote on the plaster on the wall. Go ahead and read.
Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him.
Go ahead.
So that the joints of his loins were loose, and his knees smote one against another.
I guess I would have did some knee knocking too if I had seen that. Go ahead and read.
The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck and shall be the 3rd ruler in the kingdom.
Now, so he brought in all his smart people like his daddy did. But he found out that they couldn't do nothing either. They didn't know nothing just like they were. So now, I guess the old queen told him, said, look, you didn't learn nothing. There's a man here in the kingdom that can interpret this. His name is Daniel. Seek him out. So he sought out Daniel. Skip down to verse 13. Verse 13. And go ahead.
Then was Daniel brought in before the king. And the king spake and said unto Daniel, art thou that Daniel, which are of the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry?
So ain't that Daniel that was among the slaves that my father brought out of Jerusalem? Like I said, brought out of Jewry. You understand? He wasn't even respectful. Skip down to verse 17 and let's see what Daniel said. Go ahead.
Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let thy gifts be to thyself.
Yeah, I'm him, but I tell you what, you let your gift to be to yourself. Go ahead and read.
And give thy rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king and make known to him the interpretation.
Now, I don't need what you got to offer, but I tell you what, I'm going to read this right. And I'm going to let you know what it says. Skip down to verse 25. Verse 25 and go here.
And this is the writing that was written. Many, many tekel upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Many. God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it.
Ain't that something? Now look, I guess that's why he didn't care too much about him offering something. He said, look, God have numbered your kingdom and finished it. Go ahead and read.
Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting.
You done put on a scale, mister, and you're a lightweight. You'll find lacking. Okay, go ahead and read.
He read, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians.
Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. So this guy, the Lord done gave this guy's kingdom away while he's sitting on the throne. Go ahead and read.
Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom.
Go ahead.
And that night was Belshazzar, the king of Chaldeans, slain.
Now that very night that he threw that party, the king that they brought Daniel's other to him, sister and brother, I'm pretty sure they brought him quickly that same day. That very night he died. God had him killed. Go ahead and finish that.
And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
That's why it's called the Medo-Persian Empire, because the one that took it over after Nebuchadnezzar's son died was a Median, and nowadays, which are Russian sisters and brothers. Because these are the Gentile dynasty here. So now, did a whole lot of nations break this down? Or did the Medians get it through inheritance? He inherited nations, sister and brother. Nebuchadnezzar, but the Lord said that once Nebuchadnezzar's sons get through ruling, many kings and many nations going to come and serve themselves on it. But right now, we just see one man that took over. So Babylon was not destroyed by a whole lot of nations. Babylon was inherited when God killed Nebuchadnezzar's son. So now, and for us to understand this, then we're going to go and we're going to look at the Persian part, because Israel was in captivity, and Israel was taken down by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, and Israel was supposed to be in slavery for 70 years until the Medo-Persian Empire, and then released. So let's go and look at it. Let's go into 2 Chronicles, the 36th chapter. Because the puzzling part of this here, sister and brother, is that the Lord said that Babylon was going to be taken down by many kings and many nations. But we see here that Babylon wasn't taken down even by force. It's just that this guy died, and I guess the Medes was maybe the ruling party at that time. Had more of them in that time, or either they took a vote in the Mede, and Darius the Mede won. He's the one that took it over. But nobody destroyed Babylon. Now we're going to start this at verse 11. 2 Chronicles, the 36th chapter, and we're going to start reading at verse 11, so we can read into it, sisters and brothers. So what we're doing is we want to know when Babylon was taken over. So we're going to start with the last king that Israel has ever had. Zedekiah, verse 11. Go ahead and read.
Zedekiah was 120 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 11 years in Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord his God, and humbled not himself before Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from the mouth of the Lord.
So Zedekiah, the last king we had, was an evil brother. He wouldn't listen to the prophet. He wouldn't listen to God. So when you don't listen to God, drama come on you. Skip down to verse 17 and let's look at it. Go ahead.
Therefore he brought upon them the king of the Chaldees.
That's Nebuchadnezzar. Go ahead.
Who slew their young men with the sword in the house of their sanctuary. And had no compassion upon young men or maiden.
Go ahead.
Old man or him that stooped for age. He gave them all into his hand.
Now, so he brought the Nebuchadnezzar and his band upon Jerusalem, and they destroyed everybody. They killed, tore up, and burnt down the city, and all that they did not kill, let's see what happened to them. Skip down to verse 20. Verse 20 and go ahead.
And them that had escaped from the sword carried he away to Babylon, where they were servants to him and his sons unto the reign of the kingdom of Persia.
So now, well, they were servants to him and his sons until the reign of the kingdom of Persia. That should have been it. But then we got a problem. Still, it was not taken out by a group of nations. The Persians inherited the Medians inherited the kingdom, and that's why it's called the Medo-Persian, because later on the Persians took over. Go ahead and read.
To fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed her Sabbaths. For as long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath.
Go ahead.
To fulfill 70 years.
So now, when Nebuchadnezzar took them out, they was out of land until 70 years later. Now here come the Persian king. Go ahead and read.
Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing, saying,
now the Lord stirred up king of Persia, Cyrus, because Cyrus, even history will let you know that Cyrus realized who he was dealing with. He realized he was dealing with the God of creation. So he told him, I want you to build me a house in Jerusalem. Go ahead and read.
Thus said Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kingdoms of the earth hath the Lord God of heaven given me. And he had charged me to build him an house in Jerusalem,
Go ahead.
which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? The Lord his God be with him, and let him go up.
So we showed in another lesson there was 42,000 Jews. And history rounded off as 40 Jews that went back to build a temple. But still, even though the Persians took over, I haven't seen Babylon taken down by a whole host of nations, sisters and brothers. So let's go into Ezra, the 5th chapter, because maybe it's something we didn't overlook here. Ezra chapter 5. Ezra chapter 5. And start at verse 12. Ezra 5 and verse 12. Okay, go ahead.
But after that our fathers had provoked the God of heaven unto wrath, he gave them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon.
Now that lets you know now, after Israel provoked God to wrath, he gave us into the hand of the king of Babylon. Go ahead.
The Chaldean.
Who
Go destroyed this house and carried the people away into Babylon.
They destroyed his temple and carried away his people away to Babylon. Go ahead and read.
But in the first year of Cyrus, the king of Babylon.
But in the first year of Cyrus, the king of Persia.
King of Babylon.
Wait a minute, he's the king of Persia. Yeah, he was. But still, the dynasty was Babylonian, sisters and brothers. So no matter, remember that statue was not broken up, was it? It had different types of oils and metals in it, but it was one piece, just like a man, just like I'm standing here. My head is not floating off by itself, and my arms and torso here, and my leg and my feet somewhere else, we're all in one piece. So now, it wasn't no misprint when it said, but in the first year of Cyrus, king of Babylon, go ahead.
The same King Cyrus made a decree to build this house of God.
So now, even though it was called Cyrus, even though it was called Persia, brother, and it was called Greece, and it was called Rome, it was still, sisters and brothers, Babylon. Because when I read how that Babylon was inherited by Darius the Mede, that was a big headache to me. Because I said, prophecy can't lie. And prophecy said in Jeremiah, the 27th chapter, that the nations was going to serve Nebuchadnezzar, his sons, and his son's son, until a time come then many nations and many kings going to serve themselves on Babylon. We didn't see that, did we? So now, when I ran into this, I said, oh, Babylon didn't stop. It just had a different ruler. So whatever they call themselves, whether it's a Medo-Persian, whether it's Greece or Rome, they were still Babylon. And Roman part of Babylon was supposed to rise and fall 10 times. But the last of the fall was going to be taken down by the Lord himself. He is that stone. So where is Babylon now? They're under the name, sisters and brothers, of the European Union. And don't nobody know it, because ain't nobody read. So no matter how we look at it, we're still dealing with Babylon. Now let's go into Revelation, the 13th chapter. Revelation chapter 13. Because the Lord let us know in Jeremiah how Babylon was going to come to an end. And the Lord is the one that's going to bring him to an end. First, he's going to let other nations whoop on him some, and then he's going to finish it. Revelation 13, and we're going to start at verse 1. Revelation 13 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Go ahead.
And upon his horns 10 crowns.
Now, go ahead.
And upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
Now, this is the rise of the old Roman Empire, or we can say the rise of the old Babylonian Empire. But they're coming looking different now. But it's the same people, sisters and brothers. Because if you had looked at the heads, it says 7 heads and 10 horns. Who are the 7 heads? Had Babylon as a head. The Medo-Persia is a head. Then you had the Greeks, which is 4 heads, which makes 6. And then you come up with the Romans, the 7 heads. The same old system. But it had 10 horns now when it came. Instead of being 4 beasts with 7 heads, it was 1 beast with 7 heads. Because it represented the whole Gentile dynasty, sisters and brothers. But the difference is, it had 10 horns. And each one of these horns had a crown on them. That means that each one of them was ruler, but they was ruling the whole beast. Go ahead and read.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard.
Now, just like the Greek Empire, go ahead and read.
And his feet were as the feet of a bear.
Like the Medo-Persian Empire, go ahead and read.
And his mouth was as the mouth of a lion.
That's the Roman Empire. Go ahead and read.
And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
I'm sorry, that was the Babylonian Empire, which the 10 horns was the Roman Empire. But where did he get his power from? From the dragon. That's right. Satan the devil. Go ahead.
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death.
Go ahead.
And his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast.
Now that head that was wounded to death was the Roman Empire. Because Rome had to fall and rise 10 times. We're looking at the 10th resurrection over there now. How do I know it's the 10th resurrection? Because you got 10 nations. You got England right now trying to pull out of it. If they do pull out, I believe they are, but as soon as they pull out of it, they're going to put somebody else in the slot. You know why? Because you have to have 10 that's running Western Europe. That is prophecy. But skip down to verse 5 and go ahead.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
So who is this mouthpiece that's speaking out of this Gentile dynasty, which is Babylon? The Pope of Rome, the religious part of it. Blasphemy, sisters and brothers. He's the one that said that the first day of the week is the Sabbath day now. And don't you know they're pushing it now in Europe? People think that this beast is dead. That's why it's called a beast that was and is, but is to come. That's right. All of a sudden, he's pushing now. They're going to make people observe Sunday now as the Christian Sabbath day. So his deadly wound was healed. Skip down to verse 7 and go ahead.
And it was given unto him to make war with the saints.
And he's going to make war with the saints. This is going to be the 3.5 great tribulation, sister and brother. What's so bad about it? He's going to win for a minute. He's going to make war with the saints. Who are the saints? People like us. We are the saints. The one that deal with this word the way it is. The one that know we ain't going to heaven. The ones that know that everybody that's ever died is still dead and they ain't going to come out of the grave until Jesus comes. We are the saints. So he's going to make war with the saints. Go ahead.
And to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations.
Now this guy going to get to go have power over all nations, especially a four-part, sisters and brothers. But still, we're going to see the name of this rising power. What the Bible call it. Let's go into Revelation the 17th chapter. Revelation the 17th chapter. Because we want to see the name of this rising power that the whole world ain't paying no attention to. The big stank is over Russia and America. Russia and America. Look at here. At the end of the day, sister and brother, America don't even have a place in prophecy. Being in all nations, all the power is going to be east or west, then America is going to either be under the banner of Western Europe or Russia. Oh, we Western Europe. You don't know that. Look at what this guy is doing now. He done made an enemy of all the allies of America, and he is pulling close as he can to Russia and all of the people, leaders that are strong-arming people, because he would like to do that to us. So you don't know whose side America is on. But but one thing for sure, America is not a major player in this. Revelation 17, because we're going to find the name of the power that's coming up in the west. 17:1. Go ahead and read.
And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
I'm going to show you the judgment of a great religion that rules over many peoples. Go ahead and read.
With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication.
Go ahead.
And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
See, because she is intertwined with the nations, sisters and brothers. She is a part of the power brokers. Go ahead and read.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
See, because she is on this beast. She riding this beast. They all come as one, sisters and brothers. Since the fall of the last Roman Empire, Romulus Augustus, every time it shows up again, you had a holy man with it now. That's why when people go to Italy, they just can't visit the Italian government. They have to go to the Vatican and kiss the Pope's ring. All the dignitaries. You know why? Because it is one, sisters and brothers. But go ahead and read.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with
Go ahead.
And decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. Having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
That's that bad doctrine, but go ahead.
And upon her forehead was a name written. Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. See, the religion come with the nation. That means that out of her came a whole lot of other religions. That's why she even called herself the Mother Church, sister and brother. But what's it called? Babylon the Great. The mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. Go ahead and read.
And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus.
Go ahead.
When I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
See, the church can't have nobody killed by itself. Can't kill nobody. They have to get the government to do it, sister and brother. So a whole lot of people died at the hand of this organization. Go ahead and read.
And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her.
Go ahead.
Which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns.
I'm going to tell you the mystery why you marvel at it. We're looking at it and people wondering, how is it that you're going to get these 10 nations going to operate as one? And they're so intertwined with the Catholic Church. Because prophecy said it's going to be like that. So why marvel? I'm going to tell you the mystery of it. Go ahead and read.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is.
Now looking at the beast that was. What was it? The Roman Empire, sisters and brothers. The old Babylonian Empire. It was, but still, it's not because we don't know it. But then, it is. It's rising right now. And ain't nobody paying no attention to it. In fact, It has started operating as a separate unit. They used to operate under the banner of America. Don't do that no more. The present president put something on their mind. Wait a minute, we can't trust America no more. We don't know who's going to be running it next. We got to do this thing ourselves. But read just a little more. Go ahead.
And here's the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
Now, I gave you a geographical location where the religious part is located. All you got to do is find a nation that's built on 7 hills or 7 mountains and find whatever the headquarters of the religion there is, that is the woman. And that nation is Italy, sisters and brothers. In Rome, Italy, you find Vatican City. It's built on 7 hills. Do some geography, do some history, and you'll find out. So we just want to let you know about this. So when this beast come up with these 7 heads and 10 horns, how long they going to last? Skip down to verse 12. Verse 12 and go ahead.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings.
Which have received no kingdom as yet.
See, in his day, when John wrote this, sisters and brothers, you didn't have the European Union over there. You didn't have these 10 nations. That's why they said, which have not received a kingdom as yet. Go ahead and read.
But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
But they're going to, that 1 hour is 3.5 years with the beast. You got the country that's the beast they're going to serve with, but also they're going to be under the man that's going to run the common market, the temporal leader, which is a governor or either a military leader. They're going to give their power to that guy. And they're going to rule for 3.5 years, but go ahead and read.
These have one mind.
They think one mind. That's why I believe that England is going to eventually get out of it, because all of them nations that make up the European Union are Catholic. Every one of them but England. Go ahead.
And shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
They're going to give it to one man. That's the man beast. Go ahead and read.
These shall make war with the Lamb.
They're going to make war with the Lamb.
And the Lamb shall overcome them.
Who is the Lamb, sisters and brothers? They're going to make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. Wait a minute. When we look at that statue, we saw that stone hit the statue on the feet, didn't it? Why? Because of how many toes does a feet have? 10 toes at 2 feet, right? So that means that instead of the reason the stone that's hitting the statue on the feet instead of on the head is because the feet is all that's left now. Nebuchadnezzar, he's come and gone. Babylon. Medo-Persia, come and gone. Oh, they're sitting over there now, but they ain't in power. The Greeks have come and gone. Now you got the Rome, and when it rises this 10th time, it's going to come in the form of 10 nations that's going to be running Western Europe. So now, here come the Lord. He's going to hit these nations because they're going to make war with the Lamb, sisters and brothers. What verse is that?
Middle of 14.
Go ahead and read.
And the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
Look, didn't it say the stone the stone is going to hit the statue on the feet? He going to come, and the ones that are with him are called, chosen, and faithful. These are the people that's going to be in the first resurrection, sisters and brothers. When Jesus get ready to come, he's going to raise the dead, sisters and brothers. That's going to be in the first resurrection. And we're going to be in this fight. I'm hoping that I will be changed and not raised. I'm going for the change. You might think I'm talking crazy, but I'm not. You know why I'm not talking crazy? Because we read in Daniel, it said, in the days of these kings. Didn't it say that? Said the God of heaven set up a kingdom. And I'm looking at them kingdom in Western Europe. We're looking at them. And I know what I'm looking at. Maybe the world don't know, but we know what we're looking at. Read the next verse.
And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues.
So now all this water that is sitting, that represent people, because she ruling over a whole lot. There ain't no religion bigger than the Catholic religion, sister and brother. And then the ones that even don't call themselves Catholics, they are still Catholic religion. How do you know, Brother Boyd? Wait till Christmas go around and see whose churches and living room going to have a Christmas tree. Wait till Easter go around and see who's going to be doing it. Look at the people that's worshiping on the Sunday and see who's worshiping on the Sunday. Baptist, Methodist, Episcopalian, Lutheran, and on and on. So you might be called one thing, like all of these nations was called after the ruler of the ones after the name of the one that ruled it, but still it was Babylonian kingdom, sisters and brothers. So we're dealing right here. These kingdoms, these 10 going to come against the Lord, sisters and brothers, and the people that they rule over are called waters. Now let's go and see what's going to happen now. Let's go in the 51st chapter of Jeremiah. Because now just like that stone hit that statue on the feet, and that stone represents Jesus, then that's what we just read, that these 10, like them 10 toes, they're going to make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb go overcome them. See, the Lord let us know by Daniel and Jeremiah how this thing is going to end. That's why we ain't going to be surprised like the world, because we're going to walk this thing down. I'm watching what's going on. When the Western Europe started to come together under the 10th nation, first you had 7. They went on and they grew and grew. Now they got 10. And they even call them the 10. Even though I think England's going to get out. But then if it don't, then they're going to change their way of thinking, sisters and brothers. Now Jeremiah, the 51st chapter. Because we're dealing with Babylon the Great. Ain't that what we read about? Jeremiah 51. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 51. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind.
I'm going to raise up against Babylon, a destroying wind. So he's talking about destroying Babylon, not letting somebody inherit Babylon. Go ahead and read.
And will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her.
Go ahead.
And shall empty her land. For the day of trouble they shall be against her round about.
So what time are they going to do this? In the day of trouble. Trouble starts, sisters and brothers, with the day of the Lord. He's letting you know when this is going to take place. Go ahead and read.
Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow.
Go ahead.
And against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her loss.
He's going to do Babylon just like Babylon did Israel. Go ahead and read. I mean, nobody's going to be left. These people are going to do some big killing. The world don't even know this. Go ahead and read.
Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets.
Go ahead.
For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel.
He said, but still they ain't forgot him. And I haven't forgotten what the other people have done to him, even though they sinned against me. Go ahead and read.
Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul.
Now, right now, you have to flee spiritually. Get away from this Babylonian teaching. You understand? We had a brother that came from Africa some years back when we was in the old place, maybe 15, 20 years ago. And he made the observation that since he'd been going to these churches, he'd been seeing the Babylonian doctrine. I understood what he was talking about. Because this doctrine that's put forth by the church did not start with the church. It's been around a long time ago. They just took Mary and Jesus and made the mama and the baby, painted it white, but it didn't represent Jesus. When they first come into the scene, it represent Semiramis and Tamar, Nimrod's wife and son. Suppose they'd been the greatest son ever born. That's why the Lord was telling Ezekiel to look at the abomination of Israel. He said, I show you a greater abomination, a woman weeping for Tamar. And we still had that abomination going on. We have women running around now. What is this women organization? Supposed to be a religious organization. The Daughters of Septa. That's what got Israel and women in trouble in the first place. I can't think of all them names. When I was young, I could think of all them names. I could run them all over you. But you got a women organization. But the whole thing is he's talking about the same thing. And all this come from Babylon, not from Rome. It just came through Rome. It's always been here. Okay, go ahead.
Flee out of the midst of Babylon.
So you got to flee spiritually. Go ahead and read.
And deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense.
So when it's time to flee physically, if your mind is in the right place, you have the right knowledge, and you're clean enough, you will flee also, but to the place of safety, to get away from what's going to happen here. Go ahead and read.
Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand.
Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Go ahead and read.
That made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
Look, sisters and brothers, that wine that they drank out of that cup is that false religion. And the nation's going to be mad at this time. They ain't going to like her. Go ahead and read.
Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain.
Go ahead.
And so be she may be healed.
Go ahead.
We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed.
Go ahead.
Forsake her and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heavens and is lifted up even to the sky.
So when the Lord started bringing this drama down, a whole lot of people that make up Babylon, out of all these various nations, said, wait a minute, it's getting too hot in the kitchen. I'm going back to where I came from. I'm going back to Germany. I'm going back to Luxembourg. You know, I'm going back to France. It's too hot here. It's a forsaker. Go ahead and read.
The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God.
Go ahead.
Make bright the arrows. Gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes for his devices against Babylon.
Go ahead.
To destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple.
Now, look at this now. A single Median inherited the kingdom. But that wasn't what the Lord said. He said, Babylon's going to be taken down by many nations. So what he said now, the Lord have stirred up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. That's more than one, ain't it? And so let's make war with them. Go ahead and read.
Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes. For the Lord hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. O thou that dwellest upon many waters.
O thou that dwellest upon many waters. Ain't that what we read in Revelation? Because Babylon come with a bad religion too. Rules over many people, and also Babylon, the temporal part of the nation, rule over many people. O thou that dwell upon many waters. Go ahead and read.
Abundant in treasures, thine end is come.
Your end is come. Because the Lord says, it's time for me to take you down now. Skip down to verse 47. Verse 47. Skip down to verse 47. And go ahead.
Therefore, behold, the days come, and I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and her whole land shall be confounded.
See them graven images. See, that's a part of the nation too. That's why you go into the church that represented. You got images everywhere. And in the first of the commandments, the Lord God said, I'm the Lord thy God. You should have no graven images. You got them everywhere. And you say you serving God, everything that God said, you categorically must have wrote it down so you can be different. The days come when I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon. Go ahead.
And her whole land shall be confounded.
Go ahead.
And all her slain shall fall in the midst of her.
Go ahead.
Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon. For the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, saith the Lord.
Go ahead.
As Babylon hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth.
Ain't that something? So just as Babylon have caused Israel to fall, so in Babylon shall the Lord cause the fall all the slain of the earth. Because this is going to be the war of Armageddon, sisters and brothers. That means that every nation is going to have an army in this fight.
Thank you for tuning in to today's lesson. If you are in the Chicagoland area, we welcome you to join our church community every Saturday at 12 noon Central. We are located at 520 West 138th Street in Riverdale, Illinois. Our ministry is made possible by your donations. To make a donation or to view all of our locations across the world, please visit our website at www.theisraelofgod.com.